Hello everyone, you're on VM24.com channel and today we're going to take apart the Huawei Nova 13. First we need to remove the SIM card tray. To do this we use a special tool, insert it into the hole and gently push the tray out. After that we need to heat the back cover to approximately 70 degrees Celsius or 160 degrees Fahrenheit. We're using a heating mat for this, but you can also use a hair dryer. And after 5 to 10 minutes we can start removing the back cover. We use a thin plastic film, insert it into the gap between the back cover and the mid frame and carefully run it along the edge, cutting through the adhesive. As always, be careful around the side buttons, since there may be flex cables there. And of course, be careful around the cameras so you don't accidentally damage the lenses. In the camera area, the cover may also be additionally glued, and it is often glued on quite firmly, so work slowly and carefully. So we carefully go along the entire perimeter, cutting through the adhesive, and at some point we can try lifting the cover to open it. As we can see, there is nothing under the back cover. Next we need to cover the camera lenses. We use a special protective film for that. Please note that we apply the film not on the lenses themselves, but on the rim around them. We also need to check the areas where the flex cables are located in case there are exposed connectors. After that, we move on to removing the screws. For this, we use a 1.5mm Phillips screwdriver or a Phillips #30. Keep in mind that some screws are different, so it is best to place them on a special surface and keep them organized to avoid mixing them up during reassembly. So we remove the screws. If some screws don't come out easily, we can additionally use tweezers. Next we need to remove the top cover. We use ceramic tipped tweezers for this, so we don't accidentally short anything on the motherboard. We gently lift the edge and try to raise the cover. It doesn't come off easily, it is lightly glued. We try to lift it gently, no force needed. As we can see, there is a connector here that needs to be disconnected. It most likely goes to the flash. We remove the bracket, disconnect the cover and put it aside. As we can see, the connector is located on the inside. After that, we use a non-metal tool to disconnect the two battery connectors. And then we move on to the bottom part. In the bottom part, we also need to remove the screws. We use the same 1.5mm Phillips screwdriver. It is better to place these screws separately from the previous ones, also in an organized order, so nothing gets mixed up during reassembly. We carefully remove the screws and again use tweezers to take out any that are stuck. After removing the screws, we detach the cover that hides the subboard. We disconnect the interboard cable connectors, then disconnect the interboard cable connectors from the motherboard. And we can carefully remove the interboard cable. The arrow on the cable indicates the direction toward the motherboard. Then we can disconnect the fingerprint sensor connector, the display flex connector and the coaxial cable connector. Now we can carefully remove the subboard. And we should also free the second coaxial cable so it doesn't get in the way. We take out the subboard. The subboard contains the charging port, a microphone under a shield, and the SIM tray connector on the other side. Next we need to remove the loudspeaker. First we disconnect the coaxial cable because a small antenna board is mounted on the speaker assembly. Then we pry it up at the correct point, wiggle it slightly, detach the speaker and move it aside. The display frame still contains the fingerprint sensor and the vibration motor. And here is our traditional microphone opening test. The microphone hole in the display frame has an L-shaped path. The microphone body is on the subboard on the opposite side of the microphone opening, so if we insert anything into the microphone hole, we won't be able to damage the microphone that way, although liquid possibly could. Next, we move on to the motherboard. On the motherboard, we disconnect the coaxial cable connectors and free the cables. Then we need to disconnect the cameras, and we need to disconnect them in a way that preserves the heat dissipating layer on the front camera. We carefully disconnect the cameras and put them aside. Of course, it is best to cover the front camera lens as well, so dust or debris doesn't get on it. Now we can disconnect the large rear camera. We carefully pry it up, check where exactly it is held, remove it and set it aside. After that we need to remove the screws holding the motherboard. We use the 1.5mm Phillips screwdriver or Phillips #30. These screws are different from the previous ones, so during assembly you must be very careful not to install the wrong screws in these spots. Now we can disconnect the motherboard. We carefully pry it up at the correct point, lift it and remove it. Of course, the motherboard can be held by thermal paste on the opposite side. Regarding the microphone opening at the top, the situation is exactly the same as before. It has an L-shaped path, the microphone body is on the motherboard on the opposite side of the opening, so again, if we insert anything into the hole, we won't damage the microphone mechanically, but liquid possibly could. And finally, we move on to removing the battery. To remove the battery, we need to pull up 3 brown tabs. As is typically for Huawei, the tabs don't peel very well, they tear. The 2 brown tabs located at the edges need to be pulled to the sides as much as possible, so they don't get in the way and won't continue to hold the battery. And the tab in the center should be pulled upward gently. And again, as usual for Huawei, the battery doesn't come off easily. We can use an additional tool to pry the battery up in the area where it is held, so that adhesive layer doesn't resist too much. Be very careful, don't use force, so you don't damage the battery casing. And finally, we managed to remove the battery. That completes our disassembly. Thank you for watching and see you in our next videos, either on our Telegram channel or on our website.
Okay guys, now we're done. Thank you for watching. If you like what we do, please consider subscribing to our YouTube channel, read our articles on our website. Take care of yourself, and until next video.